Hi guys, and welcome to this episode of Curious Creatures Drawing Workshop. The prompts for this episode were submitted by Marley. So we are going to create a creature that is made up of a shark, a panda, and an ocelot with a tail, 3 eyes, and sharp teeth that lives in the ocean and can crunch through bone. So if we have a look at our references, up the top we have our shark. Now I have chosen a bull shark, and you can choose whatever kind of shark that you like. We have our panda and our ocelot. Beautiful creature and absolutely beautiful markings. So as always, we are going to start with a circle for the head. Now, because our creature lives in the ocean, I think I'm going to stick with a bit of the shark's body. So I'm going to draw a line here to indicate the length of the body. And just going to put a bit of a square in here, which is going to be the connection point for the tail. Now I'm going to add in the body. So I'm going to go for a really nice streamlined shape. So a bit like the shark, a bit of that torpedo kind of shape. And then I'm going to look at the front of the face. But instead of doing a complete shark's head, I'm actually going to include more of a muzzle on our face. So I'm going to draw in a bit of inspiration from our panda bear, although obviously their muzzle will be a lot shorter. And maybe I'm going to add in some of those ocelot ears. A bit like that. And maybe we'll have our mouth open so we can see a little bit of maybe the teeth going on in the mouth. And then I'm going to come back to the tail. Now, a shark tail has this beautiful fin, but I'm thinking what I'll do is I'll change the shape a little bit and make it a little more curvy and sinuous, a little bit like an ocelot's tail. So we'll come down, kind of have this curvier kind of shape. So it's a very unique shape. So something a little bit different than a normal shark's. And then I'll put in our dorsal fin. And I'm going to keep this reminiscent of our bull shark, because that looks pretty good. And our eyes. Now the eyes of our shark are actually quite close up here to our muzzle, and I actually kind of like that. So I'm going to put a shape in there for our eyes, and of course I'm going to include some beautiful markings reminiscent of our panda here. So there's beautiful kind of darker markings kind of coming down to this mouth with our teeth. Maybe we'll have it a bit more like an ocelot's teeth. So we're going to have 2 sort of main canines and then maybe a few going back further into the mouth. So something a bit like that. So I'm just going to clean up a few of these lines so you can see what I'm doing. And of course, because it is a swimming creature, one that lives in the ocean, I am going to add in some gills. So just some indication of some gills there. Just clean those lines up. Maybe we'll just put a little bit of an ear hole there as well so we can see what's happening. And because we are going to break through bone, maybe we will have some bigger teeth at the front. So you can imagine we're just going to have these really big sharp teeth, maybe coming around the mouth like that. So really big, nice sharp jaws. There we go. And now we're going to get into our fins. So we'll have our main fins coming out this way, very reminiscent of a shark's. Maybe we'll do some extra patterning to give it a bit of extra detail and shape. And we'll be able to see a little bit of the one on the other side, just there. And now a shark has additional fins as well. So we have a set of paired fins back here, which again we'll be able to see a bit, and then they'll have some fins coming up towards the tail area and another smaller fin here at the top as well. So now that we've got our basic shape, which is very much shark, let's add in some extra details. So I think I'm going to put in some of that additional panda markings. So maybe we're going to have some black fins kind of coming up around here, maybe curving around to this tail. So this part all here would be perhaps a darker shade, like a black, or it could be another color, but I'm just going to very lightly just cross hatch a little bit of shade in there so that we know that's what's happening. There we go. And I think I'm going to add in some of those spots and stripy markings that we get on the ocelot. So we're going to have this combination of markings. So maybe coming up to spots along the tail. Maybe we'll have a few bands of smaller spots and then come back to some bigger patterns. And then maybe on this lower one, we'll have a look at that pattern on the tail, which sort of has a striped band and then some smaller sort of circular shapes. And then just come down to a bit of banding down the bottom. And perhaps maybe on the underside of the fins, we'll have a few spots as well. And I think maybe we'll have a few bands of stripes on the stomach, maybe. Just to provide that little bit of extra form. And maybe some dots towards the end. And actually, maybe some of that detailing around the face. So they've got this beautiful, so ocelots have this beautiful markings along their face, particularly in their whisker area, and then up around the ears and the side of the face. So let's just play around with some of those marking shapes and maybe just put a few sort of stripes on the ears to match in with that tail. All right, now we have 3 eyes, so I'm going to include a raised section here. So might look maybe a bit more like a crocodile, maybe almost. It has a raised sort of eyebrow area that comes up. So we're going to have 3 eyes here. So we'll just include that, and that one won't have patterning around it, but the eye on the other side will. So we have a shark and a panda and an ocelot with a tail, 3 eyes, sharp teeth, that lives in the ocean and can crunch through bone. Well, I reckon this can crunch through bone. Maybe we'll add a few more extra teeth coming down, because who doesn't like lots of teeth on their creative creatures? So let's include a little bit of the surrounding environment. So perhaps we're going to have other fish. So a lot of sharks will have little cleaner fish that come along with them and will clean all of their scales and their flesh of any little mites or ticks that are burrowing in, and just keep it nice and clean. So maybe we'll draw a few of those little fish traveling around with it. So just something like this. And then think about where we're going to live. So we're in the ocean, but are we in the deep ocean? Are we on a coral reef? Are we near an underwater volcano? What kind of environment are we going to live in? And I kind of like the idea of maybe maybe we're down, not in the really deep, deep ocean, but maybe we're down where it's sort of nice and sandy down the bottom. And maybe there's going to be lots of rocks. So I'm thinking maybe we'll do some sort of rock pinnacles, maybe, that kind of float through the water, a bit like this. And maybe there'll be a little bit of growth on them. So maybe there's some fan coral, potentially. So maybe we're not super deep, but we're deep enough that it's not going to be a massive coral reef. But there'll be a few bits and pieces around. And maybe this is an underwater vent of something. So maybe we do have like hot water coming out. So maybe this is more of an underwater active region where you could potentially get volcanoes coming up over time, or maybe it was an old volcano potentially. And you're going to have lots of little sea life on the bed, like little crabs. Something like that maybe. And maybe lots of really, really cool sort of rock structures. So maybe we're going to have like an arch. Maybe we'll have an arch back here. So we're just going to come up and draw, maybe it's a cavern entrance perhaps, or I don't know. Let your imaginations get really creative. Have a look at some photos if you're after ideas. But maybe we're going to do, yeah, something like this. So there's some sort of archway. So it could open into something, or maybe they're just swimming through. So maybe we'll make it just open. So it's one of those underwater arches. We'll have a few fans on this one. Maybe there's a turtle or something hiding back here. Or it's just about to swim out. Or I don't know. Let your creativity come through. Have a think. There's so many different things we can do. And maybe we'll have a little bit of grass, of seagrass coming through. Maybe they've got these different flotation pockets or berries or something. Yeah, have a play with your scene and think about the environment and what might our creature eat, because obviously it can chomp through bone. So does it hunt turtles or fish or other sharks maybe? Think about what you could have your creature eating, and then maybe where it sleeps. So maybe it hides in these caverns or around these rocks and curls up and has a nap somewhere where it's safe, or maybe this is his hunting ground, or maybe he's just passing by. So have a play and see what you can come up with. And as always, if you would like your drawing to be featured in our online gallery, visit our website and fill in the form. See you guys next time!